Exactly, exactly. All right, so it's 1 o'clock. Let's get started. So, welcome to tips and tricks for managing your hypervisor on ESXi. Here internally at BSI, we use a lot of hypervisors. We test a lot of hypervisors, and ESXi happens to be the one I'm most familiar with. So, I'm going to go over the basics, sort of onboard you guys if you've never touched ESXi before, and help you navigate it. And we've also set up an interactive demo for you guys. So if you aren't seated at one of the demo laptops and you want to participate, we will be working with those in an hour or so. So feel free to move, feel free to not participate, but that is available to you. So quick introduction for me. If you haven't met me before or worked with me, I'm Kobe Smith. I work on the support team here at VSI. I also do a lot of work for professional services. So my roles are kind of mixed, but a lot of my work has to do with ESXi and supporting cases and just configuring VMS on ESXi using ESXi as a base hypervisor. So yeah, let's get started. So our agenda today, I'm gonna give you guys a bit of a lecture, introduce you guys a little bit, and then we will move on to the interactive lab. First, we're gonna start off with creating a virtual machine in ESXi to use VMS on. Then we're gonna get over to configuring networking. We're gonna go over to storage and configuring data stores. I'll tell you what data stores even are on ESXi and their interpretation of that. Then we'll move on to modifying virtual machine settings after you create it initially. Common roadblocks with ESXi and why your machine may not boot, why your OS may be having some problems, and things I've run into in my support cases. And then it's lab time, and you guys get to have some fun. So, yeah, let's proceed on. So our goals in this presentation is to give you hands-on experience with creating virtual machines in ESXi. ESXi had a paid-for model for the last couple of years, so a lot of customers haven't been able to purchase a license and use it. They found it was expensive. They found they didn't want to participate in it. So we had a lot of customers shift to Linux. But as of early this year, they have shifted back to offering ESXi 8.03 UE for free. So if you're coming back to ESXi or you were on it and you went off, this could be a refresher for you to get back in there and try VMS on it again, see what you like better. Next, I want you guys to understand more about VMware's take on hypervisors and their various products. We'll be using ESXi today, which is the enterprise solution to their hypervisor, but they also provide desktop type 2 hypervisors that just go on your computer on top of whatever OS you're already on. So that could be Windows, that could be Mac. For Windows, it is Workstation Pro. For Mac, it is Fusion. And then there's Workstation Player, which is also for Windows, but they're essentially pretty similar. So lastly, I'm going to show you some common roadblocks that I found, customers have found, internally we found when you create and manage a VM on ESXi, and to get you to skip a lot of the headaches that I had to go through documenting and sharing. So let's start with VMware's products. So like I mentioned before, they offer a few products, but today we'll be using ESXi. I provided a link to the Broadcom website where you can get your free version if you haven't used it already. But yeah, it's a simple, I say simple, but it's the account creation process might be the most convoluted part of it, where you have to log on to Broadcom support and make an account and really hunt for their download of it. But once you get it on a flash drive, you get your own server and you plug it in and you load it on. The installation process also is pretty simple. I just didn't want to bore you with that today. It would have taken a while, so we're not going to install ESXi, but I'm sure many of you are capable and able to install it yourself. So yeah, if you download it, if you have any questions, contact us at VMS if you want some help. But there's your link for you. Now, on ESXi, there's a few ways to manage your host. Today, we're going to use the ESXi Host Manager, which is the default host manager after you install it. You could also continue to use their other management platforms like vSphere. There's also vCenter Server, which the main difference between Host Manager and vCenter Server is allows you to manage multiple hosts at the same time, whereas Host Manager is our single host management solution. So we're going to be working with that today, but just know there are other platforms you can manage these hosts on. It is a GUI. It is visual. You click and mouse, you point and click with your mouse to select options for managing your host, but ESXi Host Manager and vSphere and the others do offer a CLI if that's your style. I know many of you are VMS aficionados and you love a CLI, so you can get in there and do that too. All you would have to do for that when you are on ESXi Host Manager and you first install is just make sure this TSM-SSH process is running. If you have that running and your host has a NIC and is connected to the internet, you just get on a terminal emulator of your choice and you would hit SSH root and you put in your host address that you use to log into the host manager. So once you're on ESXi and you're using the host manager, you're going to want to create a VM. VMs are virtual machines where you will put a guest OS on and you'll be able to operate a virtualized version of your OS of your choice. On our documentation website, we have an installation guide, which is a pretty simple, concise look at what we recommend for settings when you install it. But obviously, this is for your business, this is for your business case, and you might have certain specs that you want on. I can tell you on this site, we usually recommend at least a 2-core CPU, 8 gigs of RAM, at least a 15 gigabyte hard drive if you're installing VMS, a single network card at least, and depending on how you want to log in, a serial console or a serial port. But beyond that, you can improve those specs, but I just wouldn't go below those minimums if you'd like VMS to operate correctly. Now, at times when you boot, even using our recommended settings, you might run into some issues. We will see if we run into any of those today, but in case you do on any of the demonstration labs today, I've compiled the most common reasons why you wouldn't be able to boot for the first time successfully. And it's likely due to forgetting some manual parameters that we ask you to add and edit when you're creating your VM, as well as selecting some options in the boot options, such as UEFI secure boot and forcing BIOS setup. Between those two settings and these manual parameters, 99% of the time, I boot a OpenVMS guest, no problem. If you forget these, you're much more likely to run into trouble when you are booting for the first time. So networking, when you're creating your first VM, it's one of the simplest parts, actually. All you're doing is making sure when you select your adapter device, it's either E1000, E1000E, or VMXNet3, which is in this adapter type drop down there. We have a port group already pre-configured in this example, but I'll show you later on how we can create one and then have your NIC be able to connect to one of these as well. Also, tidbit, if you are creating this network adapter and you forget this tiny little connect at power on, or just the connect checkbox, it's likely your network adapter won't connect and you'll miss it and you won't be able to use the internet on your new VM. So don't miss that one. Okay. Further through the host manager, we have a multitude of other options that we can configure. That last menu I showed you right here, this is how you can get your virtual machine to the minimum bootable state, but the rest of this is going to be very important for your entire infrastructure and managing your multiple hosts or guests or however you'd like your network setup to be. And again, I'll show you these menus later and how you can start to configure this. But in these sections, we have port groups, we have virtual switches, we have a just a visual menu of the physical NICs that your host has connected to it already. And we have VM kernel NICs. VM kernel NICs, if you've never used ESXi before, may be new to you, but essentially they are necessary for specific VMware services such as vMotion, IP storage, fault tolerance, and we work with a lot of customers who do they do want a vMotion applicable system, meaning after you create your guest OS, if you have a host in another location and you set up all these VMs for the first time and you want to just move them over, vMotion is a VMware solution that allows you to migrate all those VMs at the same time. And it's pretty simple as long as you have everything set up correctly with the VM kernel NICs. If you're using VMS, you want to make sure you're using the guest console if you plan to vMotion any of those. But again, we'll get into that later when I help you guys create your own VMs. Okay, so then we're moving on into storage. ESXi supports a few storage protocols, and you're going to be familiar with most of them. Fiber channel, iSCSI, and NFS. There's also the capability of shared storage between the hosts, and you could have local storage attached to a single host. As of version 9.2-3, OpenVMS now supports the use of fiber channel pass-through for data disks on VMS, and that's something we will learn to configure later. And one of the biggest concerns I've run into in my support cases is customers being concerned about the performance speeds between the comparison of their performance speeds between their old Titanium systems and their new, freshly migrated x86 systems. This addition to 9.2-3 has been one of the biggest improvers of I/O speeds and performance. So if you are using ESXi, I highly recommend you purchase one of our supported fiber channel HBA cards and configure this on your virtual machine. Okay, and sadly for this lab, I was unable to get us a fiber channel HBA in the demo, but for your convenience, I included the instructions up here if you'd like to configure this yourself. If you're at home or you're at your place of work and you want to set this up, it's pretty simple. As soon as you install that HBA card and you have it and you make sure it's available to be seen, you're just going to navigate to host, manage, hardware tab, PCI devices, and you should see a very long list of different devices, one of those being your new HBA card. You toggle pass-through on, and then in the edit settings window, once you're in memory, you're going to want to hit reserve all guest memory, all locked. After that, you're going to boot back on your OpenVMS system, and you should be able to pass through directly for your data disks. Okay, so with those settings, we added a CPU, we got our memory on, we did our hard disks, single or multiple. By default, ESXi is going to assign you these two controllers, a SCSI controller and a SATA controller. Both are perfectly fine for OpenVMS to operate on. And here we added a serial port, which isn't always necessary anymore, but you can add that yourself as well. Once you have these minimum settings, you're good to go in starting to install your guest OS for VMS. But post launching your VM for the first time and it's powered on, you can still modify the settings of your virtual machine even while it's on. Generally, we don't recommend you change any settings while it's powered on. There will be some options that are completely grayed out and you can't change, like you can't add more cores to your virtualized CPU, but you could add a disk, delete a disk, add another NIC, what have you. But we found you can cause a system hang if you're adjusting some of these settings and removing and deleting things. So generally, if I adjust anything, I make sure to power off my VMS VM and then make my adjustments, turn it back on, make sure they apply. Okay, and then now also a feature as of 9.2-3, we're able to use the guest console. Before, we were only able to use serial console ports for operating OpenVMS on. And today we actually will utilize the guest console on our demo machines. So I just have an example for you up here. If you want to use guest console, as soon as you make it to the boot screen, you type in a OPA 0, and you'll be able to see it's activated, and you're able to just use this virtual guest console that ESXi Host Manager already provides for you. Here, I just have another example of a serial console. You're familiar with PuTTY or Kitty. You know how to connect to this and use it. But yeah, that's just an example for you. Okay, so we talked a bit about some of the roadblocks with ESXi. I mentioned for you earlier some of those parameters that if they are missing, they should, they're likely they will cause some issues with your VM. But we also have found some boot devices post booting up your OpenVMS VM for the first time. Sometimes you won't be able to see all your boot devices. That's something that is usually fixed through the missing parameters, like I've mentioned earlier, but you're also able to fix that by going back here and making sure you add these manual parameters in. Another issue, if you are using a serial console and you boot up your VMS system for the first time, and you're going to see the system password line, and it's going to ask you for a password. You're going to type in a password, you know you did it right, and it's going to kick back at you you're missing characters, or you have too many characters, or there are junk characters in it. This is something I've seen so many times, and my personal best fix, and actually not too sure if this is a PuTTY specific hotkey with Control U clearing entirely all the junk characters that could get put in, but I always spam Control U, type in my password, and it should work fine. But depending on your terminal emulator, there may be some keyboard emulation settings you would have to go in and adjust to get that to not happen to you, and then you're stuck at the system password screen. Lastly, not always, but I've found a couple customers who, even though while they were powered down and they still adjusted these settings, even while powered down, they tried to change the controllers that they assigned to the VM by default. Whether it was going from SATA, whether it was going to SCSI or SCSI back to SATA, after trying to change it, sometimes it just completely nukes the operability of these controllers and you stop being able to see your disks. Best thing I would say if you're trying to add or adjust controllers is to either add new ones and delete the old ones instead of manually changing the ones you already have built. just a quick tip to not cause any issues or destroy the ones you did have set up successfully. Okay, so if there are any questions, I think now we can move on to the lab, and I want you guys to hop on in and log in. But any questions so far? Okay. All right. So if you are at a demo laptop, there's a paper sheet next to your laptop. Navigate to the ESXi login. They are case sensitive usernames.
Observe whether or not the caps lock key hit. Covered that problem that here.
So I'm already logged in. I will log out for you guys to see me log in. There you go. Wait for everyone to get in. Give you guys a second. No, so if you hit that link I included in the slideshow, it's going to take you to the Broadcom support website. You make an account, you download it. They're going to give you an ISO image that you're going to load onto a USB or a flash stick, take it to your server, and you can install it from there. The we're currently on ESXi 8.0. The 8.0 U3 version is just a free offering of the production version. So it's like they're probably going to restrict you from a couple of settings and a couple management things, but you're going to see 99% of what we're working with today on the production one. All right, so if everyone's logged in and no one had any trouble, we're going to create our first OpenVMS VM. So over here, I'm going to create a new one. Let's call this Camp. When selecting your guest OS, you want to do other guest OS family, other guest OS version, other 64-bit. And then you should see data store 1 with 1.4, terabytes free. So I'm just going to use a lot of those default VSI recommended settings, but if you want to go kind of crazy and slightly increase these a bit, feel free. I'm going to do let's do 16 gigs of RAM just because we can. Do a 50 gig hard drive. Like I mentioned before, we're going to have those 2 default controllers. We already have 1 network adapter selected here. It's on E1000E. It's perfectly fine. Connect the power on is checked off. When you're over here and you're on the CD DVD drive, you want to hit the data store ISO file dropdown. So we got to navigate to the OpenVMS ISO image, which you can find here in data store 1, ISO, and then you'll see the ISO image right here. So if you made it to the CD DVD drive section, there's a media part. You're going to hit browse. Okay. Controller location, we can leave by default. We're also going to leave the video card by default. So here, I'll go for you. So CD DVD drive. I'm hitting browse. And then you should see two folders. Data store 1, ISO, right there. Okay, I already see one VM pop up, which is great, but we're not done quite yet. So for today, we're not going to well, let's do a serial port just because when you're normally making one, this is likely what you're going to do. Instead of use output file, we're going to go to use network. Most cases you would put in this entire web link right here, and then we're going to hit, this is hard to navigate with this. We're going to do HTTPS, and then our IP address is the same one you are going to connect to the host manager on. This one. Place after those slashes. And the port is your own free port, custom port, whatever you have free in your setup. And I'll do 2099 for the case of this example. And that's your serial port. So if you were going to use a terminal emulator, this is the information you're going to hop onto with a telnet connection. Yep, sorry. Going too fast.
Yeah,
Sorry.
So was that port given to you anywhere? You just picked?
I picked that one. I know it's free just because we have nothing set up on this demo server, but for you guys, please pick one that is not $2,099. You are okay. Yeah, so if I'm gonna undo this one here. So I added this serial port. I got there by doing add other device up top. Yep. And then you'll see serial port, the third option. Yep. That's to connect to the console once we make it.
Well, you said see what.
Yeah.
What's the easiest way to find?
Easiest way to find a port for you to use. I guess I guess it depends on your home configuration. Like if I've ever used if this is like a fresh server that I've had installed, it's usually not so much of an issue. If you have a lot of established connections on this, I'd say your best bet is to, I don't know, either do something way, way, way above the range of ports you normally use, right? So like I'm in the 2000s now. Yeah, I would hope you are hopefully somewhat familiar with the amount of ports you're using, but um, yeah, not sure if that's
I mean, it's not just what I'm using, it's what all the software is using,
right.
everything. It's in, trying to remember where the user-based ports start at.
Okay, so the privilege ports are down below 1024, 1024 are down.
Yes, where's the user-based? Oh,
Well, then you have other fixed ports, and beyond that are ephemeral ports. You don't want to get ephemeral ports. Those are the ones where you aren't thinking a fine port, you just want a port. In a socket call, that.
What's the lowest threshold for the ephemeral ports? Like, what's the
It's usually depends.
okay? So if you're between above the 1024 before getting to the ephemeral ports, um, yeah, ideally pick a range that you probably haven't even touched before 2000, 3000, 7000, whatever that is for you.
It's all applied by the IP address. So really only care about the ports where you use this ESXi.
Right. Right. Okay, so hopefully you guys got that C report added. Next, we're going to go into the VM options. We're going to start with advanced. And we're going to add those configuration parameters that I mentioned to you earlier in the slideshow. So down here, advanced, configuration parameters, edit configuration, and we're going to add 3 to this. So I'll just hit that 3 times. Just let me refer to my demo sheet to make sure I get these correct. Oh, that should be easier to go on my own slideshow. Let's do that. Okay, there we go. So we're going to add, let's start with EFI dot EFI dot quick boot with a capital B. Not sure if that makes a difference. Enabled. We go over to value. This false. That's our first one. Next one is EFI dot serial console dot enabled. We're going to make that true. Last one, EFI dot shell dot active by with a capital B, default capital D. We're also going to make that true. So those are your 3. I'll give you guys a second to type those in, and then we can move on. So in this, the second column is going to be value. You're just going to double click and type that in yourself. Yeah, I think that's just before we hit the OK and save it. Might turn green.
What was this?
Okay, so we are in the VM options tab up here. And if I'm going too fast, please tell me to slow down. Okay. Hopefully you got those in. I hit OK. And now I'm going to unclick this advanced, and we're going to hit to boot, head to boot options. So we went from advanced, unchecked it. We're now in boot options. And all we're going to do is click this force BIOS setup right here. Check that in. Yep. Yep.
So it says this one.
It says the swap file location. I think.
Oh, just above. It's the same default in.
Yeah, no worries about that. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so now we're in boot options above advanced. We want to hit the force BIOS setup. Yes. What was that? Paul Jacoby. Hey, yeah. Something I forgot to mention in the slideshow earlier. We do have to change the firmware type. We're gonna make that EFI, and we're gonna leave this secure boot setting unchecked. So
Like grayed out.
after you did EFI,
Well, it's it won't let me switch.
okay, it's possible. You didn't finish yours and then went back, did you? Okay, so let's on yours. Let's just hit OK and finish it, and then see if we could go back. We also are all doing this at the same time, so it might not let some people operate, but yes, you. Good call.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, my apologies. You do not need those.
So should we pass around what ports?
You know, this was for your just so you could do it. Today we're gonna use the guest console, so we're not even worrying about the serial port today.
Anybody else? Each of us have to have-
Right. Yeah, I understand. So you're not gonna you're not going to need this. So if two of you selected the same one, it's okay for the sake of this demonstration. So yeah, don't worry about it, but I appreciate the insight. Yes, so we did both of those. We're just gonna navigate to the next. Should be all that, and then we're gonna hit finish. And we should see a bunch of you guys pop up. So we got one fail. Is that mine? Oh, I mistyped the parameter on this one. So I'm gonna fix this. I'll let you guys finish. No, it's good. It's okay. All right. So see, we got a lab example, Bootcamp, Bootcamp 2, Aubrey, we got a Lucas.
I'm able to change it.
After you finished? Okay. So I'm gonna boot mine up. And I'm gonna see how we did. Okay. So go ahead and boot your new machine up if you made one. Some of you may see the internal shell, some of you might not. I did, so I'm gonna hit boot normally. And if everything went well, you should make it to the boot manager screen. And you've created your first OpenVMS VM on ESXi. Say that again. Thank you, Lucas. So if things are okay for you, I'm not going to put you through an entire OpenVMS installation today, but if you did want to install VMS, you just boot off your default device listed here. For me, it is DKB0. Should be the same for all of you if you didn't adjust the SATA or SCSI controller. And this will take you through. Oh, wait. We want to do guest console. I'm actually going to go out of mine. Okay.
You can automate that, right? So every time you go,
You absolutely can. Yeah. So let's do that. So here. So I already. The question was, if anyone didn't hear, can you automate the booting of your device? So you absolutely can. I believe it is. Bear with me, I might get this wrong. It's auto. Is it auto start 5?
Auto, well, auto action is one word, and then
Yes. Yeah, so you can shorten auto. It's auto action. You can shorten auto. Or no. Yeah, auto boot, and then you select the amount of time it would take. Or is it auto?
or auto boot by default.
You are correct. Okay, so it's no, auto action is halt. So that would try auto action. It might be boots with it together. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so you can the command is auto action, but if you want to shorten that to auto, you just do a space. The action is boot, and then you would put the amount of time it would take for the boot to start in seconds. So I did auto boot 4. For some reason I did countdown 2, but if I did 2, maybe that's the lowest. But you can do whatever you want, 15. To confirm that change, you can see up in the auto action. This used to say halt, and now it says boot DKB0.
But it still says 2 because you have to do like the N is separate for it.
Okay.
Like auto.
Thank you, Lucas. Well, someone connected to mine. We're gonna do auto boot space.
Well, it has to be like auto boot would be to set it to auto boot. You do a separate one like auto, no.
Okay, I understand. Gotcha. Yeah, so you would have to first do auto boot, change the action, second command, auto, the default action, and then you would do the amount of time you'd like it to take until it starts up.
you don't have to go to zero to supply it.
No, just because it's the default boot command right here. And that is the first command I did once I started up. If I were to do a different device, this default will change. It would be that last device I put in. Okay. So it was at this point where if you hit boot, it was going to take you to that next machine. It was going to take you to that next screen, and you would connect through your serial console. For the sake of this demonstration, we're going to do the guest console. And that's where we go right here and we hit OPA 0. So now, if we do this boot, and we'll let it go through. really well. You're actually able to see the console on this ESXi's host manager's guest console. Say that again. Oh, are you getting junk characters when you're in there? Yeah, so we would go through the entire VMS installation and it would ask us all the stuff. Install one, and we hit everything. Once you're at the end of that installation, it's going to ask you, what would you like your system password to be? That is where at that point you would try the Control U hotkey. Okay. I'm going to shut that one off. And if everybody is okay with that, I'm going to move on to, let's see, what should we do next? I'm going to move on to adjusting. I'll show you that grayed out menu when you want to adjust settings while it is booted. Just so you can see. So you see right here, we have CPU grayed out, memory grayed out, SCSI controller. So these are things you wouldn't be able to adjust while it is powered on. But regardless, we do recommend power your machine off and adjust any settings you'd like. Okay, so with that, we've successfully made our first machine. I can see we got 7 here, which is great. And it looks like we didn't have any issues, which is a little boring. You can't fix anything, but that means it's good. So now I'll show you just some ESXi host management settings and where you would go. We go to storage. This is where we get into the data stores. If you remember before, I'm hitting the data store browser right now. If you remember before, we went and got the ISO image from this data store 1 folder. All a data store is essentially a virtual container for your files. And we are manually creating these, or I manually created one for the example of the Bootcamp, but we can make one right now and call this data store 2, create a directory. I actually made this in the ISO folder. Didn't want to do that. So excuse me. Let's go back. Let's go back here. Excuse me. So I was in the browser to show you guys the contents of data store 1. If you'd like to create your own data store, you're actually going to navigate to New Data Store from the storage column. And here we get our new dropdown. We create a new VMFS data store. You can name this. Oh, we actually don't have a free spread device. Oh no. Oh no, I can't show you guys a new data store. Well, if we did have a new device, this is where you would do it. That's unfortunate. Maybe we can extend our regular one. Okay, so maybe let's try extending our other one. Let's see if we can do that. No. Well, this is where it would be. Yeah. Sorry, can't do that. Okay. Well, while we're here, We're still in this storage column. We have a disk right here. Well, let's not working here. No, we're not. Okay. Okay. So we didn't get to make our new data store, sadly enough, but let's move on and help you guys configure. Let's try networking. Let's try networking while we're here. So let's navigate instead over to networking. And for the sake of this demo, we already have a few port groups. Port groups are essentially where you would host your VMs, and if you want to have your VMs be able to communicate between each other, you want to have them in the same port group. So you see we got 3 right here: VM network, management network, and a new port group. And these all happen to be on the same switch. So before I send you that, here we can create our own switch and try this. Again, let's call this Bootcamp. Call this Bootcamp switch. Both of these settings can be left by default. And if you'd like, navigate here over yourself, networking, virtual switches, add a standard switch. Feel free to add one. As I mentioned earlier, we have our physical NICs listed out 0 through 3, 4 of them. The VM kernel NICs, again, this is where you would have services such as vMotion be enabled. You can also add one here as well. You just got to make sure you are utilizing the same port group that you would like to vMotion the machine out of. Bootcamp. We made a bunch of Bootcamp switches already, which is amazing. VLAN ID, MTU. And down here, this is where the selections for the different services, if you'd like to enable, are. So if we were wanting to have this be a vMotion compatible port group, is where we'd select this dropdown and that dropdown. And we made that.
This is to allow.
This is to allow, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. What is the purpose of the, so if you want to communicate, your host has its own physical NICs, right? If you want to communicate with the host, your virtual machines also have their virtual NICs that you're creating. The VM kernel NIC is the navigations of moving your VMs from host to host. That, if I'm making sense. Okay. So with, I'm gonna let you guys continue to keep making your own. Just let me know if I'm going too fast. I'm gonna take one of our examples. I'm gonna attach. Actually, let me take mine. Yours. Delete Bootcamp. I'll take lab example. I'm going to hit edit. I'll show you. This is where you would. Um, oh nope. Okay. So if you made your VM in the very beginning when we made our VM, we were on the VM network port group. You have you have a listing of the topology of where the VMs are actually lying on that virtual machine. So here we have all of our examples listed in here, connected to the physical NIC on the host. And that allows you to monitor that. Well, are there any questions so far? Anything you guys are wondering about through this creation? I've shown you just about most of what I wanted to in terms of creating the VM, adjusting the NICs, creating your port group, creating. Sadly, we couldn't do the data store since we don't have the space. Lastly, I could show you registering a VM on that data store that we would have created, but since there's only a single data store that we have, each VM is just going to register itself there. But for the sake of example, we got data store 1 on Bootcamp, bootcamp.vmx, and it's already registered. So I'm unable to show you what newly registering a VM would look like, but this is where we would do that. So yeah. Okay. So if we have no questions and everything seems clear, we are in a long session. Still got 45 minutes left, so take a quick break. I'll give you guys 5 minutes. Let's call it 10. I'll give you guys 10 minutes to just take a second, and yeah, we'll just continue to explore more settings and adjustments after we come back. But yeah, that's all I got for you right now.
Question.
Yeah.
Can't get this one to start.
Yeah. Say that again.
Can't get this one to start.
Oh, let's do it. Let's work on it. We'll see. So we have this. We use Charles. Did we use that? Let's go to Charles.
I just made it and then I had to. So I just switch slides on their door. Just switch all that.
Yeah.
To
Make it there.
Yes, for TV.
Yeah, let's give it a good.
Where's the account?
No worries.
So
It only takes one. It just breaks the whole thing.
Yeah, it's weird.
I can serve for you.
So I started.
It's quick moved on, I think it's very.
It is EFI.quickboot.net.
First that.
That's false, that says false.
Yep. Yes, want to be false.
Yes.
We're gonna want it in the value.
Oh.
My line's not working.
It's a couple of like yours, free.
Oh, he'll help you out, help him, and then if you got it, welcome.
Absolutely.
Still,
Yeah.
Try to work, exactly, set it out.
Power it out.
Yeah, okay, so.
It'll be able to mention this.
Yeah.
So.
Ooh, also, this, that record virtual hardware was HDR plan. It's actually, it'll be a lesson. So, well, let's do 15, to be safe. We'll be able to move off of the. Okay, cool. Now we're going to be on options. Yes, we're gonna hit that drop down, the bias drop down, we'll make it get by. Unchecked. So it's. Get out of the options. Okay, advanced. So corresponds to what that check. Oh, based on that, well, please, so that
Yeah, unless they're not this machine.
Watch it.
that's a,
So how do you want Yeah.
oh, you missed that.
I missed this.
It only takes one drop down to get you. It's gonna be in data store. It's gonna be ISO. Data store. There you go. Yeah. So you want Itanium and then move it over.
Yeah, just like BMS straight into.
So I've been a part of two big ones. So they were on Itanium and they wanted to go straight to the cloud. So it was almost a jump over this. They want to virtualize and get on the cloud.
Your pod?
No, so we actually ended up piloting Oracle Cloud. Yep. So we did both. Got them virtualized, on ESXi, and then had them cloud as well. First Microsoft part,
Yeah.
and I've done some work helping the customer migrate their system.
Yeah, we're going through that, just like,
Yeah, that's my.
but yeah.
How's it looking? Where you at? Say yours.
You know, it's crazy, there's a few things we're working through, but,
Traffic?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, every
Yeah. It's a big jump, like it's a lot of planning. It's one of those things that customers either try it right away, and then they start to realize how much steps of planning it takes.
Yeah.
Or they really start to list everything out, and they go, "It's a lot. Hey, we need your help." And then you can also contact us. Yeah, yeah. You do reach out to the board if you'd like to have less plans. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Why not? Okay. Cool. So yeah, so if you guys ever need help with that migration,
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, maybe like some offline consulting.
yeah, we could, if, obviously we don't need your like extra information, but if you want to exactly overall guidance, discussion, this is what we're thinking, we're available to help you with that time.
What I need is. Yeah.
Handle?
Yeah, you can do that.
Are you still working on I'm sure. I've never had conversations with that.
Me too.
It makes that happen. Yeah. I mean, good creators. That's a legacy.
So
Years old. Yeah, so what do you do? I think they started installing things.
Gotcha. So, you know, my stock customers will just have a video. Especially we said they could do it, and then they do it there.
like I thought.
Factory VMS?
You add,
Oh, just factory, yeah.
It's. I think we actually had a lot of very customized.
Yeah, it's a one.
Stuff on like, yeah, just. What's the challenge is that when they started putting all these, so you draw the. Major.
Yeah.
Sort of, the supposed to be the lower best, it came out for 6 months. And in our area.
Right?
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
It's probably seen stuff with the well, he looked at it, said, I didn't. Even he was scratching his head. Apparently, we did have a couple of guys over ESXi for history. Extreme goodness for VMS, and they did wonders with what they said. It's still running today. Yeah. With very little real interaction.
Yeah.
Most of our stuff happens for as it's developing for quite a distance. You can throw data packets and trash and serve and database some things of that nature. The system itself just 1-year-old hardware, right? Yeah. We still have some access. We still actually have some that literally still running on Dexys. Yeah, it drives our network folks insane. Because every time we want to try to spare things, stuff out. And people use this last thing is for security.
Yeah, you got it.
You know, we did try to put that. It's like, no, we can't.
Oh, eat the last straw. That's good.
Not the biggest one. Yeah. I just, I just on just to use it. That's then 20 minutes.
The last straw.
Yeah, we've had that stuff. Yeah, every time I see one person comes in, I was, oh, look at me, I should make this better. All our old stuff stops working. They're like, what did you guys do this? I had one with, I guess, the writing, it's like, oh, no, we're writing this one, these switches, you know.
Okay.
Have you ever done? No, it's just like, it's like a specific. He said, what's that? I said, you know, like EPH 186, I need two. Yeah. I'm still learning about. So really you are, yeah, we really sort of. Yeah.
Yes,
Second
yes,
generation
no.
of IP, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, why this is, it's just that, you know, it's the one. Nothing.
Yeah, you can need one.
Yeah. When they started, I mean, it was. It was over, just something like, really.
Right, I see that. All right, Don, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
You're right. We can't write it, I think it just, I'm looking sense.
On your research.
What? Yeah, duplicate name. Yeah, so I had to go back. I think that was what I said.
Oh, yeah, we're usually right
Yeah,
there.
he's.
I mean,
So, yeah. My name. Oh, yeah. Easy to know who it is. I think it's just six and okay, and then we will pick that one.
Okay. Punched.
So the eight inches. Yeah. That's just like a generation, 2%. Oh, we. They should be able to do it. Yeah, Americans, they can come back here. And they came back again. And then yes. I had no idea what it was. Yeah, you need to answer.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how, like.
Yeah, that's.
Check over everything. People too. So I
Yeah.
Damn.
What way? So I'm sure that's okay. It's more than nutrition. Yeah, right. Depending on the taste, just as the broccoli too. But I just. This after separate about that. So bad, the microgreen or. Yeah. They all have the same. It's just a.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's not.
Oh, that's right. The problem is one of mine I can't do because of that space. So it's like,
So you just have 50 minutes left?
I got one thing I can show.
I thought you were.
I am. I'm gonna get everyone back. I got one templating and deploying from template.
You're fine. You're doing good.
Thank you.
It's like. Person is like so much up to the. I've seen these like the houses. Yeah. Might be that. Too. As let's say, my cost to maintain is a cloud. That's something that will impact. So the practice that less than 400. And that, say, yeah. There's some like your house, your like. Yeah. So maybe once you are farming, you're not taking up too much space, and that is just most of it straight things. But then it's like some shelves are much shorter, some shelves are longer. It's not like you kick it out and everything that's just so have move on. Yeah, is.
This is that means when
Try to get somebody that help you out. They it's a sheet project. Yeah, you would. Those great.
Oh, yeah.
She might actually hard on this now. She needs this.
All right. So it's been about 15. If you guys would like to do a couple more things, I think I got a bit more for you, then we can get out of here and put an end to boot camp. So, let me get back here. So we made our VMs, right? We got all these examples, and let's pretend we are a very large business, as many of you work for. Even though you guys are experts now and it was very quick and you did this in lightning speed, you don't always want to do this manually. You're going to want to deploy VMs quickly. You want to do many at a time. That's when we can get into templating, and we could essentially copy all the settings that we did and make it a template, post that either locally on your computer or in a data store. And then each time you're ready to deploy a new VM, ready to have OpenVMS on it, you deploy from that template. And it really shrinks this whole process that we just did, takes out the manual errors possibility, and you just are able to fly along and create VMs.
The name and go.
That's it. Give it a name and go. So that's what we do internally most of the time, or we want to do VM to test with. So yeah, let's all try that right now, and let's double the amount of examples we got here. So I'm gonna right click my example. I'm gonna hit export. You don't need the ISO. NVRAM, we haven't really configured much in the VM, so we're just going to do the VMDK. And yeah, let's allow multiple. And this is going to export it locally. I see some of you got an OVF, VMDK. Oh yeah, no, this is all three. Okay. So this OVF file is the important one. So we got that.
So where did you find the export?
Okay, so I took, I'm on the virtual machines column. We have all these listed. All I did was right click mine, and oops, in this drop down, sorry, excuse me, I went to export. So this is going to create what's called the OVF template, which is essentially a listing of all the settings we created our VM with. And we could.
Export.
You have no export. What example are you?
Bootcamp, right?
Bootcamp, right? Oh, you know what? I believe. Oh yeah. Okay, so Ray is grayed out. Does anyone else have that issue?
Does that need to be powered off?
Yeah, power yours off, Ray. Yeah, because I can see.
There it is.
Okay, so I can do Aubrey's, I can do Luke's.
Then you just export the VMDK?
Yep. It will give you 3 files, even though you just selected VMDK, but that's because the OVF and the MF aren't necessary regardless. So this is the minimum amount of files you'll get exported, these 3. Okay, so just all right, so let's deploy. Actually, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna, because we we exported this OVF, right? But I don't want to keep this locally on whatever machine I exported on. So what I'm going to do is upload that OVF file that we just made. I'm going to put it in the data store that we created earlier. And what I'm doing is navigating to storage on the left. I'm hitting data store browser. We have data store 1. I'm going to hit upload. So this is the same thing that I did earlier when I wanted to put the VMS ISO. You're able to upload things to the host manager and have them stored in here for every VM to navigate and use. So your OVF template should have went straight to your downloads folder. So if you're here with me in the data store browser, you just hit upload. I navigate to downloads, and here I got Bootcamp OVF. And while we're here, I'll make us a directory. I'm gonna call this templates.
That's an extension of meth.
Yeah. So in your downloads, you should have 3 files: MF, OVF, and I believe VMDK. So if you could get that OVF one uploaded, I'm gonna put us all in this templates folder. Let me take move. I'm unable to. That's okay. We'll yeah. Let's see.
Just for a bit of reference.
Templates.
Side, there is a tool that's available with VMware stuff that can convert all 3 of those files into one.
Oh.
It turns the OVF template plus the disk and the other definition file into a single OVA file,
Ah.
which is an open virtualization of the planes file, which with everything it's just one thing.
Nice. Okay. Good to know. Thank you. Okay. Here we go. So yeah. I know you didn't want this MF in here, so I'm just going to delete that one. And if you were to move this to your templates folder, I'm hitting your Bootcamp 6. I'm just hitting move. And I'm putting it in the destination templates folder that we made. Aubrey, I'll let you move that one if you want. Go for it. There you go. Nice. Cool. Okay. Cool. So we got that OVF. We want to make a new machine. So I'm navigating over to virtual machines in the left-hand column and create a new virtual machine. And instead of create a new, I'm highlighting deploy. Actually. Well, yeah, what we can do, we can take it from the local store since that's what it wants us to do. So I'm gonna call this Bootcamp template, just to remember. And I'm gonna click both Bootcamp OVF and Bootcamp VMDK. So I'm just shift selecting both of these. Yes. Yes. Okay. Everyone's there. Moving on to the next. We're selecting our storage. Data store is perfectly fine. Network mapping, we're going to leave as the default VM network because we haven't selected a new Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Thin provisioning. Paul, do I want to change to thick? Leave thin. Correct.
Saying that they
We want, don't support thin.
yeah, call it
Yeah. Okay.
They just said, yeah, I'm sure she said.
Yeah, let's not do that for our deployment. So we're gonna go thick. So if you guys are with me here, all we did was select disk provisioning, turn it to thick. Same network. Just okay, looks like it didn't get my. Might not be able to do this at the same time. I'm doing OVF. I'm doing VMDK. Next. Thick. Which is missing. It's interesting. Okay, well, I got Bootcamp template there. I'm gonna try to power it on, even though we saw that error. Okay. So let's power this down. Let's check out the settings for the template we just launched. So my original one had 2 CPUs, 16 gigs of RAM, had a hard disk. The deployment, I see. So on the deployment, it did not retain our original IP address that we put in before.
Without you some excessive configuration on top of it. Those are always unique variables, so it's never assumed to retain those two reports.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay, so that'll be one manual setting you would have to change each time you're deploying if you're going to use a serial port. We weren't today because we used the guest console, but in the future we know that.
The serial.
Oh, yeah.
You have to allow, if you do just the local thing, you have to allow the serial port number. They specify in that URI
Yep.
through the VMware host firewall.
Yep.
And you want to be really careful with doing that because anyone can tell into that. There's no authentication other than whatever is listed there.
Understood. Okay. Good to know.
Frustrated, disable the firewall completely, but provide our own.
We also had to do a manual change of the CD and DVD drive. So this is why mine didn't boot. And so that's two things we had to change manually. So still faster than all the manual options we did put in when we first started, but it didn't quite perfectly go through, sadly. So it was the serial port here, as Paul and, sorry, what was your name?
Gary.
Paul and Gary were discussing. This
just disconnect that since you're using 923, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is fine. Yeah. But he's asking which ones didn't transfer. It was the serial port, as well as the location of the ISO file and the CD DVD drive. So
Obviously, be secure. It won't actually assume the
Right.
location of that is.
right.
So it's one of since you didn't export it with the OVF, it's just going to assume that it doesn't exist and go to the
Right. Our boot options as well. Oh no, we're not doing that. Boot options was good. We're going to check on our advanced configurations. Those are in. So, yep, just those two settings. One being by not allowing the firewall in, like you said, and one by not doing vSphere. But okay, we save that, we power it on. I don't think I saved.
Maybe you check, connected power. Yes. Maybe it's safety issue.
Oh, right. Yeah. Let's go to, let me try these again. Connect. This we're going to get rid of. Should be good. Do that. Interesting.
So,
Yeah, interesting. So I guess once we have the serial port in there,
just make it.
yeah, it's just always gonna ask for it. So I'm gonna do. It's not working. Oh well, it's not connected power on. No, still.
Just see the name pipe.
I will.
One of those options will
Uh,
do the apples and power. This was your
physical. It's not gonna let us make it. Nope. Really wants this port. Nope. That's okay. We'll do what we did before. Yeah, likely this is what you wanted anyway. So. Sorry. One above my one I did before. Yeah. Hmm.
pick a character from the URI and then just say, I can see what I'm missing out. Like, trying to. Cancel out of that, and then just change the serial port setting when you reopen the thing. So edit it again. Then try and get rid of the port and then save just that change.
So let me save, but yeah, it's not gonna go through. That's an interesting one. Yeah, so we could try again. Let's do. Yeah, so let's try. Let's try to get a successful template here. So this is what we had before, and this does not play nice when we try to template it out. So we're using guest console. We don't need this. So this is how I'm saving the original one. I'll power it on. Guest console. Things are good. So it boots perfectly fine. Exactly. So we're gonna try to. What I'll do also is I'll delete all our templated ones, just so we could get a working one. And this is, get used to deleting and creating VMs. Don't hold on to them like they're precious and dear. Just delete them and start over. It is.
Don't get attached.
Do not get attached. It's not bare metal. You're not breaking anything. It's not going to cost you money. Just get rid of them. Bless you. So here we are on back to Bootcamp. I'm going to export this one. Yeah, well, should have renamed it, but that's okay. So now we got our two. They're going to be named that. Go to create, deploy. Call Bootcamp template. Oh.
That's close. No, it's good enough. Yeah, it's a good name.
We're
You know, it's different.
going to do it again. And we're going to hit. Click provisioning. Next. All right, this image was missing.
That's because those know where the eyes.
Right. Right. Which we established that vSphere would be necessary to not have that be.
vSphere content library.
Yeah. I wish I had vSphere for this demo, but sadly, this is where we're at.
This is actually good to know because they did make it free again if you want to use VMware for a test environment or something.
Yep.
But without the vSphere to make everything easy.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Okay, so here we are on Bootcamp. All right, so we got our Bootcamp template. Let's see what came over. So like we mentioned before, this ISO will not transfer over. Without the serial port, this is going to be the last, excuse me. This is going to be the last setting we would have to manually adjust, as well as making sure it's connected. It's not allowed. Not powered on.
Yeah, it's not gonna let you make those settings with power. No, it's off.
No, it's off. It's definitely off. What's wrong with the state?
Here, it's so great.
Doing that. ISO.
It could have been still provision.
These are just to go through the regular steps. Think about that part.
You know, I did try to sell this as so much easier, and look, it took us longer.
We
Yep.
have to do this anyways, but we.
Yep.
It is a lot faster.
Different issues that are
down the process.
I know. And if this was on vSphere and it did work well, it would be faster, but
Go ahead and say that.
Then about the end.
yeah.
Everything else.
Yeah, oddly enough, Force BIOS setup was unchecked this time, which is interesting. Not allowed in current state. Okay.
Yeah, it does say.
We want thin, Mike. Okay. Is it just me, or could any of you guys adjust your template?
Yeah.
You could adjust your template?
I got my big.
Nice. Okay. I don't know what's up with me up here I'll log out and log in.
The we're doing current state of registration comes from a background process.
Yeah. So, okay, so we got one booted off the template. That's good. Oops. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. Let's try this one more time. Bootcamp template. God. Okay, well, something's up with mine, but Ray. Oh no. Which one's yours?
The Ray one.
So we got Bootcamp Ray 1 started, and he was able to adjust his ISO file. Yep. Oh, interesting. So, did you add this manually when you recreated yours? You did. Okay. All right. Well, not sure why mine wants to be so difficult, but you get Ray's up. You know what, Ray? I'm gonna use your. I'm gonna use your OVF file. Let's try that. So I'm gonna export this. Export this. You can't, Ray. 2. These. Okay. Successfully imported. Two. Automatically powered on. Or turn that off. So oh right. Now it's gonna ask for this.
It really does not leave me.
I guess not. Maybe it's something about the users I created for you guys. Maybe for some reason root is being difficult.
That tells me is that you should or what I would do is go actually manually edit the template file to figure out what's going on. That obviously takes a little bit of time to start going down.
Of course, right. Yeah, we only got about 4 minutes left here that I have for you guys. So if Ray's was working, I'd like to show that, but if not, not the worst thing in the world. Ray, all you did was once this came back up, you just add this manually, put on connect.
Yeah, just pick the Thanks for looking for that.
Interesting. So I don't know why mine is being so difficult, but
It could be a browser class corruption.
yeah.
A cosmic ray could have hit your laptop like an hour ago. And it was a little bit ran.
A glitch in the matrix.
Yep. Glitch in the matrix. Okay.
I think a good exercise lesson to the reader, so to speak, is get a template that already has everything installed and have a first move script to set up all the individual domains, IDs, address.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
That actually goes in to the VM after it's deployed. That's all that was automatically based on the spreadsheet.
Oh wow. Awesome. Cool.
You've got a box sitting around with 768 gigs of RAM. You just want to make a lot of VMs.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay. Well, with that, that's about all I got for you. In terms of interactive demos, I'll save you guys 2 minutes back.